Hello, everybody. I don't know why I started 2 minutes earlier. I'm usually late. I'm like, let me get started now. Of course, I'm going to be listening to music because I got to keep it fun for me. But if you're jumping in, say hello in the chat. But I'm going to wait a little bit before we get started. I'm just going to be working on my project, but I did want to share and talk about kind of some cool ideas for like side projects if anybody's just starting out or you wanted to like build some experience or work on some stuff. We'll chat about that. But I hope everybody's doing awesome. And yeah, I'm just gonna like try to work on my personal project today. And if you all have questions, you could always ask. Let me know if you have a question or not. But hope you're all doing amazingly well. And welcome. I'm gonna start like streaming every Friday, 8 p.m. because I have nothing better to do. And also I think it's fun. I think it's kind of nice to kind of spend some time streaming and coding. I think there's so many reaction videos on YouTube and so much stuff. Like, you know, I know not a lot of people are interested in, coding streams, even though they might say they are. Most people just wanna be entertained, which I understand, and maybe I could make these entertaining as well. I don't know how entertaining I am, but today I'm just gonna work on my project, and if you jump in and you have any questions, let me know. But one of the things that I'm working on is a revamp of my Coding After 30 website. I kind of went and focused on very basic functionality at the moment. Right now we have courses where you're able to go take a look at the course, and you're able to see the courses, including the notes. I'm just finished the first crash course for Strapi that I was working on. And so after this, we're gonna work on building the Astro application, which will be kind of cool. By the way, I did have a great chat with, let me go on YouTube's Strapi Astro. I had, okay. You would think it would rank and you would see it on search, but I actually chatted with Coding in Public. He has a very huge channel around like Astro, which is kind of cool. I think Chris, we did like a great talk. Like, I actually highly suggest like checking out the video. If you all never use Astro and want to check it out, like there's many reasons why. I think it's such a cool framework. I love like Astro. I built like a couple of projects with Astro. And the reason I bring this up is because I'm finishing up my crash course in Strapi, which actually it's finished. I just gotta go ahead and fill out all the notes for everybody to use and stuff like that. And then I'm gonna work on an Astro crash course using this backend that we built here, and then I'm going to work on doing the same thing with Next.js. By the way, let me know if my music's too loud. I just needed something to listen to, otherwise I'll go nuts. But anyway, but in this like video, I mean, in all these live streams, you're going to be building stuff with Next.js mostly, and so I'm revamping this website, and I'm kind of like gonna take a look at what feature to implement next. We got dark mode going, we got light mode, we got our sign in. So if you sign out, you can't go to course unless you sign in. And when you sign in, you're able to go to courses. We actually, last class, added like a really cool feature, which is basically allows you to redirect to like an actual lesson by providing a link. For instance, if I'm here on YouTube and I'll just look up Strapi crash course. Actually, let me go log out here. So here I am, I'm gonna log out. And when you log out, it kicks you out back to the home screen. And like the feature we implemented last week, for instance, I'm sharing these videos on YouTube, and I want people to literally go back to my website because I'm trying to create a slightly better experience of following my courses that I create on my own personal website. All the courses I put out are free. Like, I don't get paid on YouTube. I get paid from my job, which is okay. And so if you click, notice how, because we're not logged in, it took us back to our login screen. But the cool part, it knows kind of where you're coming from. So when I click sign in, notice it redirects you right to that lesson plan, which is kind of awesome. So like, makes it much easier for like a user experience. So anyway, we're gonna talk about working on this app a little bit more today. I think I'm gonna think about adding a profile section. So this way, all the people that are participating like and taking lessons, they could either take notes on the videos or they could at least like the videos or add them to their lesson plan. And we kind of will talk through kind of how to set this up. But the one thing that I want, and if anybody has questions, definitely let me know. I would love to kind of keep this engaging and answer questions about anything that you may want to know. If I have an answer or not, that's a different question. But one thing that I want to talk about is, so if you're just starting out and you're looking to kind of figure out like how to build a cool project, what would be like an interesting idea for a project. And a lot of times we think of like, oh, let me come up with some idea. Maybe I'll build a TikTok or maybe whatever. Like a slightly better idea is try to build something where you're actually solving an issue. Like for me, I need a learning platform for my community. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to build one. So I'm like solving like a real issue, right? Another thing though, which I think a lot of people should consider is there's so many different like ecosystems. You know, and I'll use like WordPress as an example. We're not going to talk about too much about WordPress, but WordPress is known for their plugins. Well, there's other like platforms that actually have plugin ecosystems. And actually, if you're in JavaScript land, you like Node.js, you like React, Strapi, which is a headless CMS, they also have a plugin ecosystem. And one of the things I did, I was kind of looking around and like in my application, I need to have like a maps field, right? I need to have a nice map field that allows me to like have a map in my application, and I could save location. I could easily search addresses. And I looked at this and I'm like, man, so they have this map field, and I don't know if it's supported in Strapi 5. It might be. Actually, let me take a look. I could have saved myself some trouble. But anyway, the point I'm saying, you could find these ecosystems which have all these like different projects and plugins, and you could find something that's either hasn't been updated. So this one was updated last year, and I'm gonna kind of look at package.json and see what's the latest version that it supports. And here you can see it's basically supports Strapi 4.6, and I'm not sure, like I didn't look into like much detail. I don't think it is migrated to Strapi 5 yet, but anyway, I don't think it is. Otherwise, like moot point, man, I just wasted a whole day today. But the point that I'm getting besides that is you find little projects which are either outdated, and you could either work on the same kind of repo and do a PR to like update it, or you could recreate the whole functionality and build your own plugin. And that way, what's cool is like you could submit it to like some sort of marketplace like we have here at Strapi. And now when people ask you like, what the hell did you build? You could be like, oh, I updated this plugin for Strapi, or I updated this plugin for another ecosystem, or I did this or that. But it's a project that you didn't kind of build for yourself, but you built something that's out there in the community. So like getting and building things for the community to use that's very public. For instance, I love Astro, and so I'm building Astro Strapi loader. I'm the maintainer of this, and I'm working on V2. We have some people that contributing, but that's like another way to kind of get out there in public and kind of think about giving and building in the open, to try to kind of where you're not just making portfolio project for yourself, but you're building something that others in the community that use. But anyway, I wanted to kind of show you that that's something to consider. And I've been actually working on building and redoing the map plugin that Kedrick started with. And what I ended up making my own version, porting it to Strapi 5, because I wanted to have a easier way to add locations. So I'm able to add it to my application as a custom field. And so boom, I have this awesome map. That globe was actually kind of cool. You could actually hit precise location. It'll show you where you are. I don't want to dox myself. I'm in Texas, so who cares? But like if you click this, it will use like your location. But I built this custom field just because I wanted to make it easier. And you could kind of look up stuff, Boston, and then boom, it found Boston. You could save the location, you could move the marker. And here I kind of left this out like for debugging, just so I could know what's up. And I think I'm going to make this as a configuration in the plugin to be like, people could turn it on, turn it off to kind of, you know, have this extra information if they do need to debug the field. I don't, like for users, probably not as important, but for me as a developer, it's kind of cool to have here. So build this custom plugin. And the reason I bring this up is because the cool part about like building like a Strapi custom plugin is because it's a good way to kind of, on a small project, to do a little bit of backend and to do a little bit of front end. And I'll show you what I mean with that in just a second in code. But first, let me see if anybody has any excellent comments, suggestions, or anything else. But yeah, if we take a look in code, let me make this screen bigger. Strapi plugin is basically, let me move my face out of the way for a second. Strapi plugin, what's kind of cool, it's literally a backend server using Node.js, and then it's a React front-end application. So in the admin, I have all my React code, including the components. I have my custom field here that I built. And then in the server folder, we have our backend where we have our, you know, controllers. I'll start with the route. We have our routes. So basically you declare your routes the way you would do if you were building a Node.js application or any server application. Then these routes are associated with certain controllers that you call. So I have a couple of controllers here to find the location and get my settings. And sometimes if you're building controllers, you don't want to put all your like logic into a controller. What you do is you create services, right? And so I have services here. And so by building like a small plugin, you could kind of play with this idea of building kind of full stack application where on the front end is React and on the back end it's, you know, Node.js or something like that. And so if you wanted to find like a cool project to do, think about like finding like your favorite ecosystem and building a plugin. So I just wanted to kind of add that as a tip. And the reason why I kind of came up with this idea is because I needed to have a map plugin in Strapi. And the one that I wanted hasn't been updated in 420 days. And I was like, I need an updated plugin. And what's cool, because all these plugins are open source, you could go on GitHub and you could kind of look at the code and you could kind of learn by reading the code, seeing what people did, how they implemented it. And then you could kind of learn something new and then you could build something yourself. And you know, once you build a plugin, you could submit it to a marketplace. I'm using Strapi as an example, but you could find any one of these marketplaces. So if you're thinking of like a cool idea of a project to build, don't just like think of like building just like a random website. Think of like, is there a thing that I could actually help the community somehow? And sometimes it's really hard to contribute to open source because, you know, contributing to open source is really hard. But sometimes you could find these small pockets, like there's so many ecosystems which have their own marketplaces, right? And you could build something for that marketplace. You could share with the public, make it open source. And it's kind of like a cool thing, which you could say, hey, I built this thing. It's got this many weekly downloads, this many people use it. And it's like a real project that you built for a community. And that's kind of like what I am doing here with my plugin here, which is, I'm kind of pretty excited about it. And I got to learn about using maps and implementing search and having headaches. But anyway, that's what I want to share. But today, like, I want to continue to work on my website here. And I think what I want to do is focus on creating a profile page for users. And maybe you could start to scaffold and do something. So I'm using Tailwind and I'm using Shad-CN UI. I think using like building everything from scratch, it's awesome, but it's also time consuming. So I try to leverage like possible free, like tools and frameworks that are available. So anyway, so what I want to do is I want to create a profile page. Technically right now we have a placeholder in dashboard, but nothing's happening here. So it'd be cool to create like a cool dashboard view. So I think like I should probably think of what I want to put in here. Probably put like a side menu and then which allows you to go to your profile and go other places. And so maybe you could think about it. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open my project in VS Code so we could take a look at it. And in my project, I have my client, which is my Next.15 application. And for my backend, I'm using Strapi, which is my backend. And I'm just going to stop my other project so it doesn't conflict with anything. And I'm going to open my terminal. I'm just going to start my project up to show you locally. So my project is already deployed to production, but all my dev and testing I do locally. And then I'll make a PR for my own repo. And then I post, I test it, make sure it works sometimes, and then go from there. Because it's not a big project. Like I don't have like a specific workflow to do automated testing just because, it just takes time to set that up and I just haven't had it. I'd have some internal tests that I set up that I'm yet to write. So I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about it because as the project grows, you do want to add automated tests because otherwise it's going to get ahead of you. But anyway, so we have front end is a Next.js project and my backend is Strapi. So let me just open and start both of them up. So cd cat server and run yarn develop. That's going to start my Strapi application in port 1337, I'm hoping. Yep. And yeah, here's my backend. I could log into it. And right now, this just has some basic dummy data because this is local. I think I'm literally using an SQL database here, but in deployment, this is using a Postgres database. And so right now, like the content types I have courses, I have lessons, I have topics, I have users, and I have user profile. And so what I want to do is maybe today build a view to kind of show the user profile, or at least start to build it. And right now, I'm currently just have the name, a GitHub link, and a simple bio, and then like the courses you followed. And then when you sign in to the application, right, it creates a user account. And so I want to make sure that your user profile is tied into your user account. And some people wonder like, well, why don't you, like, since you already have a user and it has some data, why don't you stick everything into like user object? Why do you have a separate collection for user profile? Well, the reason why I have a separate collection is because I want to have like my data compartmentalized where it has different levels of access. Like if you take a look at this user profile, it has username, email, password, reset password token, confirmation token. I don't want to just willy-nilly make a call to this endpoint to get any additional data because this has a lot of data that should, in my mind, be private. So instead, why not have a user profile? You have different policies to check if you're the user responsible for it before you get to see it. And then you also like only have the information, which is not as important as email and password, like something that someone could use to like kind of hack your system, whatever. So I kind of separate them. So I already have this content type. And so what would be cool is to be able to, as the first step, to see if we could get our user data in our Next.js application. And I already have myself as a user. I don't have a user profile. So maybe we get ourselves. And if we don't have a user profile, we create one. And before we do that, we need to build out a front end. Let me see some folks in the chat. And by the way, I'm just going to be coding and failing. So if you have questions, it'll be awesome to me answer them because otherwise I'll get lost in my own code. Sweet Butter, by the way, I love the name. Dude, I got some ideas for my website, but don't know how to do it. I want to add scroll animation to my website landing page. I should animate first, then broke to frame by frame and use it to do something else. And then broke them to frame by frame. And I mean, for me, like, if you look at my website, let me go here, coding after 30. The one that I'm building, like, it doesn't have anything fancy. Like, I'm not like a designer. I'm more of like, like, at least I don't, like, it's not that like I don't want to be a great designer and do beautiful UIs. It's just not where I'm gifted. So I just usually focus on functionality first, get it to work, get people to do users, and then I'll think about all the cool animations and all this other stuff. And so for me, like, what is it, Framer Motion. So a lot of times, Uh, I think it's Framer. Yeah, because I have this project that I'm building, which is kind of neat. I hate writing YouTube video descriptions. You know what I'm saying? It's just so annoying. Wouldn't be like nice if I don't have to worry about it. So I created this project. Very simple, called YouTube Summarize. It's live, but to get the description, you need to be logged in. But anyway, like I have some animations here. I have this like little subtle like background animation that when I move my mouse, it subtly changes. I have this weird spinning thing around this image. And to me, like, am I excited about like how to build this stuff from scratch? Of course I am. But I just went ahead and I just got Magic UI. I think they use Framer Motion under the hood. And so, you know, like, I'm just like, I'm gonna just go ahead and use like a cool UI library. Log in. I think I could log in with GitHub. I gotta authorize and I need my phone. Are you kidding me? Okay, I didn't need my phone. But yeah, and so like now I have this access to all these cool like components and different effects, and I could build beautiful websites. So that's the route that I take. But I think like as a developer, when you're building something, very important to kind of think about where do you want to spend your time. So anyway, so that's why answering like your question, Sweet Butter, adding scroll animation, all that stuff, it's definitely not on top of my list. Functionality first, and then getting stuff done. Anyway, so I'm gonna continue working on here. So, and then speaking of that, I'm gonna cheat a little bit because I wanna get some, I wanna create a side menu and a main area in my Next.js application. So if we take a look, currently, let me actually start my front end, cd cat client ls yarn dev. So I'm gonna start my front end from the locally. Yeah, definitely not setting my images correctly, but that's okay. Something's up here. We'll take a look at it later. So if I sign in, I'm kind of curious why the image is not showing up. So let me go here, lessons, global. So I do have an image. We could troubleshoot that later. But it's funny though, like it works in production. Like boom, it's right there, but locally it just doesn't like me. Anyway, I will take a look at that in a little bit because I have more pressing issues, which is, let's start building out our landing page. So I have our dashboard. Actually, let me close this. Dashboard. Dude, that image not working is gonna bother me. So I'm just gonna quickly go into cat client. This is going to be source, components, custom, header. So we have logo Strapi image. We have the image, but somehow logo image URL. I'm gonna do this for now just so it doesn't bother me. And then I'll take a look at it later. Boom, fixed it, right? That's how you fix things. Professional. Anyway, so I'm gonna try to work on my dashboard because that's the goal I had. So if we take a look at the routes in the source app folder, I have my root route, which is like my courses or any public page that I want to display publicly. And then I have my protected routes, which has the dashboard. And inside the dashboard, we have the layout. And this will probably be a good place to put our side navigation and our main view. And so, but then like the issue I have, and this is like something that I didn't think about ahead of time, because like I do have my courses slug, which also has this layout here. Because the issue that I'm going to run into, let's say I want to have I'm just going to do like a placeholder. This will be sidebar. And then this sidebar will unfortunately be visible in the lessons. Wait. No, hold on a second. Let me think about it. Because I have a separate layout for that. Actually, it might not be. I'm silly. So this is like the cool thing about Next.js, for instance. So if you have a layout component, wait, I should test it. I might be like stand corrected here. So this will be a sidebar, right? And if I go to courses, view courses, yeah, so this sidebar will be available here. So what I need to do is I need to create a different route for my dashboard. So we have protected. It's kind of gonna be annoying. Lesson slug, layout, page. So I wanna check something out here. Let's see if I do inside dashboard, new folder. And I'm gonna call this, let's say, profile. New file, page.tsx, our RFC, profile page. I want to call it profile route. Kind of interested what it's gonna look like. So now if I land on profile, dashboard profile, dashboard course log profile. Oh, I need to call this page, not pagettes, page.tsx. So this will be profile, this will have the sidebar, and I don't want to have the sidebar there. Yeah, I guess I'll do it this way. And then it could have its own separate layout. So let's do new file. We'll call it layout.tsx rfc. It's gonna be profile root layout. I don't know. And then it's gonna take children. So now when you go to the profile page, you're gonna see the layout, and our layout could have our sidebar, and then we'll have our content, which is going to take all our children here. Yep, and then, dude, autocorrect is like really not letting me do the thing that I want. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so now if I navigate to my dashboard and go to profile, dashboard profile. Oh. Okay, dashboard profile. Hold on a second. What did I break here? Page. We have the profile page. We have layout, we're in dashboard, profile, we're passing the children, export default. Yep, that looks correct. I wonder why now it's broken dashboard. You should be able to go to profile, and profile is not found. This should be found because you have profile, layout, unless there's something special, layout, export default. Huh. Did I layout? That is interesting. Let me kind of rename this. I wonder what's happening. Oh no, it was working. That's so weird. That is so weird that it wasn't working before. But yeah, so I'll have the profile. We'll have my sidebar and header. And so I'm just going to do something really quickly. Go to reweb. I'm just going to steal some stuff. Templates. Projects. Dashboard. I'm going to kind of look at this code example. So we have layouts, components, app, page section. Hey, what are we building? Sweet. Butler, you can use Framer. That's basically what I mentioned. I'm just kind of working on a side project. I'm building coding after 30 website, which basically I want to make it easier for folks to kind of like use my courses. I want to have the video from YouTube, but I also want to have this easy area for notes and people to have much more enjoyable experience. And so now what I want to do is I want to add a profile section. And I'm trying to overcomplicate it by trying to find a template already, but the most important part, I should just probably be able to not worry about that, because we could just do rough house it. So profile root page, I'm gonna delete this for now. We're gonna do flex column. That looks good. Look at it. Look, Jesus Christ. People tell us like AI is going to replace us. I kind of like don't think so. Like the things that AI does is been pretty like frustrating at times. We just want flex, and then we want to have we want 2 divs. Dude, I should disable like cursor. Dude, this is, do you see what cursor is doing to me right now? What are you doing? Leave me alone. Leave me alone, cursor. So anyway, I want to have sidebar and the main content. That's what I want. This is going to be sidebar. Dude, how do I? Okay, that's fine. That's fine, cursor. You could. Oh my God, look at this. All right, so OR, reload, profile. Dude, you killing me. Something funky is happening with like my computer, because that should work. I didn't change anything. Hello, I like Vue Next because I think React Next are so complicated and much mess. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. I think Next and Vue is pretty awesome. I like Astro a lot. I'm just like trying to build more stuff with Next, just because. But yeah, no, I think like there was an interesting video that I saw on YouTube where the guy basically talked about you know, the state of web dev got overcomplicated. And I want to see if I could find the video. And then he talked about like keeping things simple. I think he made a video called "Giving Up Next.js." And of course, I'm not gonna find it. Leaving Next.js is this one. So this guy made an interesting point, and he actually shares his repo here. And I think it's kind of cool. He talked about BHVR, like a very lightweight Bonhono and React app. And if you take a look at GitHub, what I like about it, it's like very simple. You just have your client code, right? Then you have your server code, and he just has like a very basic kind of starter server here with one simple route. And then you have a shared folder for shared projects or shared types or files. And that's basically all you need, like, right? Like, why overcomplicate web dev if you could just like keep something simple? I kind of looked at this and I like this because I really already mentioned it early in the video, but I was kind of getting into building plugins, and this plugin that I'm building for Strapi, and I kind of like it, again, the simplicity of this. You have your admin code, which is your front end, and then you have your server code, and basically you write a front end with React or something similar to that, and then your back end you write with Node.js or another framework that you like. Some people like Go or whatever. I love everything like in JavaScript. Like to me, it's just like easier to keep everything in one language. And then I will look at that. Thanks. Yeah, it's pretty neat. But going back to the interesting thing here, this is where I'm like having like an issue right now. Like this. Let me see here. Yeah, this is fine. This is not an issue. I think there's something wrong with my computer live reloading stuff, because if we take a look at the profile layout here, right, there's technically export default function profile, nothing weird or wrong with it. I have my regular page, and in the past, okay, now it's working, right? And so before it wasn't working, now it's working. And Black Dreams, hey Paul, thank you for the time you put into creating these videos and streaming live. Yeah, I want to start streaming live again, because I think there's like this, what do you call it, a stigma of like what a 10x developer is. And development, that to me, it's all about struggling and figuring things out. And I think like putting things live, and especially doing stuff like without prepping for it, it kind of gives it like a more real sense. And then I get to try to figure things out. But instead of being like showing final projects that like somebody built, and then being like, oh, it took me 5 minutes to build. What I love, before you check your real website, not localhost, if I saw correct, yeah, now it's localhost, now it's working, now it's like showing like a thing. I think it's something weird and lagging with my Next.js project. But anyway, I'm trying to continue to build out this community page, and I think like what I was thinking is starting to build a profile page. By the way, here's one thing that I was going to say, like as a developer, one of the challenges I have is like, how do you learn new things, and how do you like figure out like where to spend your time? And so a lot of times, like I write blog posts, not only this like on my website, but I write blog posts for others. Like for instance, I write stuff at work. I make tutorials, and people ask me like, why the hell do you make tutorials? Why do you like write blog posts? And a lot of times it's because that's like a way for me to kind of, build a library of things that I built, and kind of allow me to reference that material when I'm building new projects. Because one of the things that I want to do, I never want to recreate things from scratch again. So for instance, I created this epic Next.js tutorial. And now, for instance, like I'm like, oh, I don't remember exactly how to do something. This is one of the things, like a lot of people assume like you need to be able to remember every little tiny detail, every little thing. The truth is you just need to focus more on thinking about how to solve like deeper problems. But the things that you build and that are repeatable, like it's okay to lean on reference of things that you built before, right? There's no point of every day recreating and building the wheel. So by the way, this is like a cool tutorial if anybody's like looking to learn Next.js. How to handle login and auth. I'm gonna quickly look through this. I already implemented auth in my application. I ended up going a different route. What's also cool, like for instance, like I built this project. I think I have a GitHub repo, and like what's cool is to see how like my thinking changed, or how like different things change, and how like I used to do before and how I do things now changed. I think it was called like Epic Next updates, Epic Next course, front end. So like in this project, I ended up, actually it's gonna be in lib, in utils. No, it's not in utils. Data, actions, profile actions, auth actions. Services, yeah, get user me loader. So yeah, like I created these examples, so now it's like nice because you could like lean in and reuse those examples in other places. So basically that's kind of cool to do. But anyway, so if we're going to work on our profile, we have our profile page, we have our layout where we eventually gonna put stuff. And what we want to do here in the layout, here's another like actually question I have. Like if you're using Next.js, because of like server-side components, this is something that I think about. You could either fetch your data on a route, right? Like on the page route, and then you could pass your data to its relevant pieces like via props. For instance, if I go to courses here, lessons page, I am fetching my data on this lessons route, and then I'm passing it down to where, like via props, wherever the data is needed. And then you could also directly fetch the data inside a component. I'm not sure if I'm doing it in this application. Like, let me go to root here, root layout. Yeah, so if you see here in the root layout, I am getting the data for my user, and that way I'm able to pass my user to the header. But here's the thing that I'm doing different inside the header. The header is responsible for its own data loading. Because it's a server React component, you could move the data loading closer to the component that you use it. And so the thing that I always wonder, do I start from like the bigger, like let me start route level, like, or you start from the closest place where you're going to use the data, and then if that data needs to be used somewhere else, you move it out. Like, you know, that's something I've been kind of thinking. Black Dream says, I'm following your tutorials where you teach Strapi. I switched to decap CMS 11ty, then Strapi. Nice, and I had a lot of troubles with this combination. Now I've decided to switch again to Strapi and Next. Whatever questions you have, like let me know. Like I'll definitely help you out. I mean, like I'm always like experimenting and building things. I built a bunch of stuff. Like another good tutorial that I did, Strapi and Next, is I did one on Free Code Camp. Like this one is actually like
I've recently come to learn that
this one is like 4 months old. Like I don't know if you check this out, but this covers like a really good kind of overview of how to build something with Strapi and Next.js. And obviously, like I'm building stuff I'm gonna try to stream and build stuff. I'm slowly I haven't streamed in forever, so everything is like rusty at the point. But yeah, I wanna also use this time during live streams to keep building my application when I could finally get myself to stop talking. But also, like, if you have Strapi related questions or Next.js related questions, I'm not like by far like the best expert, but I would love to like have discussions and talk about them. I think they'll be kind of cool. One thing that I already have in this application, and I'm like all over the place because of ADHD, in data utils, I think if you take a look in loaders, I'm getting, okay, so I didn't get as far as getting, no, I should be getting the user, so, because we are aware of the user, so I think I moved it here in the lib. So we have auth context, okay, auth provider. So I'm fetching the user here. Dude, I've started this so long ago, like I don't remember setting this up because now this means that here's, sometimes you start building applications and you realize that why would I do that? So anyway, the issue with auth context, and it's been a while since I used it. If you create an auth context provider and you get all the data, where am I using it? Like they will turn your Next.js application from statically built to like dynamic, or it's going to make that component be like use client, I believe. Let me look at the chat here. Can you explain how your backend based task, like using Prisma and APIs, just like we use Node with React? What do you mean by that? Can you explain how? So here's the thing, like, so I'll quickly show you. So I am lazy. So the way I build my application is I pick a framework like Next.js. Next.js. Oh my God. No, that's not the one. Next.js, Vercel, whatever. So I start by like, okay, I'm going to pick Next.js. Okay, Next.js is popular, a lot of documentation, very good lessons. And then I'm like, do I write all the logic myself, how to communicate to the database? And is that like what I'm getting paid for? Or am I getting paid for building a project for the users? So then I go with a headless CMS. There's a bunch, but I love Strapi. The reason why I go this route, and I'll show you in a second, there's a point here, is because with Strapi, I don't need to build a backend. I have this admin area for non-technical users to be able to manage their own data, and I get this amazing API. And so in my current application, I am using Strapi, right? This is the server. And right now, like, because I am using local instance, leveraging SQLite. So here I have my database. Come on, like, let me, Jesus Christ, who built this? I want to move it up. Yeah, and so I have my database, and instead of like setting up Prisma, like I'm able to talk to my database via the Strapi API directly. And so for me, that saves me time. But I think CD, because I have apps in production, ooh, we went too far. But I think like if you learning, I mean, it depends too. If I were to do everything from scratch, I would probably use, where am I? CD. I would go with Prisma and Next. And so like I have a bunch of projects. I'll kind of talk you through it. So it really depends like where you want to spend your time. Do you want to build everything from scratch? I have so many folders here. I don't remember where I started to build a project. Strapi 5 next door, my next door, my music, LMS, Strapi, no, BJ coding F30. Go for deploy project frameworks, nope. CD programming. So basically, Strapi node. So if I CD full stack with Koa code, I didn't get too far. So I started building a full stack application, and instead of using Node, don't ask me why, I'm using Koa, like I'm using NX. I have my Strapi, not Strapi, doesn't have Strapi at all. I have my React application. Then I have my server application with all the tests and all this other stuff. And then as I started working on this project, I have like E2E test. I have like this whole like convoluted, like it's not convoluted, but it's like it's an overkill for the thing that I want to build. I want to build like a simple application, and I am kind of basically spending more time on organizing, what I'm doing. And it's just pain in the ass because I'm spending a lot of time where if I leverage, let's say, Strapi, a headless CMS, or like Next.js, like I would have been more productive faster. And to your point, like no ORMs, but directly to SQL, that's so cool. You may have much better flexibility in using. So there's still like an underlying ORM. It's not technically ORM. So Strapi uses, it's called Connects. And by the way, what I would say, like, so for instance, there's Prisma, there's a bunch of them. So I like Prisma a lot. But if you want it to be something which is, you're not writing like raw SQL queries, but you write it like you want to, is it Connects? I think it's Connects. Yeah, it's this library. So what I would say, if you want to learn about directly talking to the database, but not writing raw queries, I would say build a front-end application with like React and build a server using like Node.js or Express or Koa, and then use something like Connects, which will allow you to communicate to your database more directly. But it's not like a full-on ORM like Prisma, where you get like a lot of cool stuff out of the box. So it basically comes down like, what do you want to spend your time? So I think like for this application that I started, I didn't, I don't think I added Connects yet. Let me look at package.json, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add Connects, and I'm going to talk to the database directly. And so I guess what I would say, like self-learner, is like identify the project that you want to build, and then ask yourself, what is the most important thing that you're trying to get out of that project? For instance, are you looking to have a finished project, or are you looking to learn like a very specific piece of that project? For instance, if you're just more interested on understanding how to directly communicate with databases, right? Using, like Connects and then creating your API with like Node.js, that might be like the best, like in a good learning opportunity, because you get to learn to build something from scratch. You get to dive into a little bit deeper. But if your goal is to, no, I have to have a final website and I have to have users, and I don't have time to build everything from scratch, then it's like, okay, where do I spend my time? And so, but if you look at all the projects, like I have stuff where I build full stack applications, which I never finished, because building something yourself, it takes a long time. So I'm very big on kind of trying to save time and utilizing available things. Maybe it's under learning, CD, LS. Dude, I'm not sure where I put this. I had a project where I was literally, maybe I was going to make a tutorial out of it, and I stuck it in here. This is auth next. Yes, CD auth next code. Let me see here. Yeah, so this is an application that I'm building where I was literally like, I don't have a need to do this, but I think for learning purposes, it will be pretty awesome. Like, because this is something I don't have to think about, like using a headless CMS in Next.js, I don't have to think about it. But in this application, I'm like, oh, I do have to think about how to handle users. So not only do I have to create like a sign-in form like I have here, but I also have to kind of figure out like, well, how do I communicate via this form with validation and send a request on submit, right? It's going to call a, it's somewhere in here, input, use form, hook. Anyway, it's going to call an action, and that action, I don't think I implemented it here. I think I implemented it in sign up form. Yeah. So you have to create a form, then you have to create like a user action. In Next.js, it's something that runs on the server, and that will directly talk to kind of your ORM. In this case, I'm using Prisma, which is not as low level as Connects is, but you need to think of those things. You need to validate your schema. If your schema is invalid, like what do you do? If it is valid, and you're creating a user, you have to first check that the user exists. So I have find user by email, where I'm able to use Prisma, and I'm talking to my database directly to check, hey, get me a user with the email. If the user doesn't exist, right? Say user if the user, I should say, exists, the user already exists, return that message. If the user doesn't exist, that means you're trying to create a new user. Go ahead and create a new user. And basically, I have another service where I am directly talking to the database saying, hey, but I'm using Prisma, so I'm cheating a little bit. So I'm not making raw SQL queries. If you want to go a little bit lower level, I think instead of using Prisma, using that library Connects that I mentioned here, that's actually a good learning opportunity. And this is something that I'm going to do in one of my side projects. Let's see. Black Dream says, I didn't know it was you who created that course feature on FreeCodeCamp that who led me to this amazing channel. The channel name resonates with me. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm way older than 30 now. I've been, it's kind of funny. I got my first job at literally 39, and I've been working about 5 years. So I just turned 45. And so to me, the reason why I want to stream is because I build stuff and fail in public is because I want to show that it's okay to struggle, it's okay to fail, and don't let haters hold you down, if you say, because I'm definitely not the smartest person. Like anybody, it's like everybody's going to struggle when they code. No one is just magically, I was talking to someone who's a senior developer, they're a tech lead, and they would literally ask me questions about something because you can't know everything. And, sometimes you know things and sometimes somebody else knows things. So I feel like, instead of comparing yourself to others, just focus on what are you doing today to make yourself better developer for tomorrow. By the way, I want to show you a funny tweet I did today, because a lot of people they're like, hey, AI is going to replace developers. This is going to be game over. We don't need developers. Dude, I wish it was the case because I want AI to build everything for me. But basically, let me go to my own. So I just made this tweet earlier, and literally, I was trying to get something to work with AI, and it was just so annoying. And I basically said, dude, what is going on here? I said, working with AI is hard. I use Cursor. I love it, by the way, but it's just a tool that you need to understand its limits and how to use it. And then after chatting with AI for a while, I had to ask it the following question because it just kept failing miserably. And I couldn't understand, no matter what context I provided, no matter what things I asked. And I'm just trying to give it a chance to try to solve issues. And so I finally wanted to know would it actually be able to understand and give me a reason why it failed miserably. And the way it failed baffled my mind like crazy, because it's such simple tasks. And if I literally decided to do it myself, it would have been a little bit easier. Well, probably a lot easier. But I said, can you provide a summary of all the mistakes you made today, present them in a list format, and what I can do to help you be more productive? This is what literally AI said after my painstaking process of using it. Overcomplicating working code, meaning it tried to be too clever. I tried to fix code that was already working correctly, and I suggested unnecessary changes to the markers, the thing I was building, placement logic. So basically, it would always try to help you, even though I didn't need any help because the code was already working. Also, look what it tried to do. I kept trying different approaches when the original implementation was already working. So I already had working code, and it was still trying to make it better, but there's no need to make it better because it was already working, and it just kept messing up. Another issue it had, not learning from previous solutions, right? And so I literally provided working code, but the LLM was like, I didn't adequately analyze and understand why it worked. And the key here, understand, because LLMs don't understand anything. They just randomly produce the most likely result possible. And that's something that everybody should keep in mind when you're working with LLMs. It's literally just a guesstimate of what the most appropriate response would be based on some crazy algorithms that nobody knows how they work. But it's still not deterministic where it will constantly give you the same answer. There's this randomness to give you the best. It's like rolling the dice, and that will guesstimate the chances to give the best appropriate response. And then, and it literally kept trying to modify the solution instead of understanding the core principles and how the code works. Always gave me inconsistent approach. It would start working on a solution, but then it would like lose itself in the context and will go completely crazy. Then like the AI is like, I kept changing the implementation. So after like it would find out that the thing worked, right? The LLM would still insist on changing it and making it better. And so every time it would keep breaking working code. So I'm like amazed when I hear this hype online of how things are using AI in production. I'm always like flabbergasted. Like, how's that work if I can't get it to work on my machine? I like this one, not listening to user feedback. This is hilarious. I wasn't mad, but I just kept being like, listen, this is what you need to do. I'm telling you, this is the answer. I should have, but like, it's funny that it's kind of gave me this self-aware answer where it's like, you repeatedly told me the code was working, but I kept trying to fix it. That's hilarious. I didn't properly acknowledge when you pointed out the mistakes. So I showed the mistakes in the code that I was doing, and it's like, nope, I'm not going to acknowledge you. I know best. And then I did ask it, what tips would you give me to help you to be more productive in the future? And so be explicit about what's working and what's not. And then when something is working, tell me explicitly, this is working, don't change it. And to me, that's such a frustrating thing for your LLM to tell you. It's like, oh yeah, if you're so smart and you're going to take all of our jobs, why do I need to specifically tell you that this is working, don't change it? So that's like kind of interesting. Then it says, point out which specific parts of the code are functioning as expected. And this is like the whole point. Like LLMs, they don't really understand what your code are doing. They could just basically, through kind of the most probabilistic answer based on its data, what it thinks the text output should be based on your question, that's all it knows. It doesn't actually know the code and what your code does, right? And this part here, point out which specific parts of the code are expected. That's crazy to me. Provide context for change. If you want to change, explain why current implementation isn't meeting your needs. This is actually like a good tip. Like if you are asking like LLM something, definitely give it enough context and enough like reasons for kind of like what you're trying to change and what would be the correct idea, what would be the incorrect idea. And the problem like that I have here, like talking about like right now, is that, well, if I need to tell you all these things, why don't I just do them myself? And so there's this kind of like thing with LLMs for me. It's like, sometimes they're great when you're trying to build a POC and discover something, or you're learning something and you want to talk through like problems around it, like when you're doing something new. But when you're actually trying to be productive on a thing that you know how to do, it's like it gets in your way. And that's like is very, frustrating. Share the specific problems you're trying to solve and guide the problem solving process. So it's kind of interesting where you're kind of like, hey, I want you to help me do the thing that I do, but then like I have to be even more helpful to the LLM to have it help me achieve the things. Set clear boundaries. Tell me which part of the codes are off limit for changes. This is another ridiculous thing. And this is where I kind of have like that. Like I love like LLM tools, and I love Lovable. I think Lovable done the best job of like kind of implementing a thing. But the issue with any of those tools, like you could prompt it to have you build the same thing 10 times, it will be slightly different. There's no consistency. I really have a hard time believing that English is the most precise language for programming. It's not, in my mind. It's too ambiguous. Like when you talk to other people, like we already as humans have like really hard time like understanding each other and misinterpreting. So to say in code that English is going to be the kind of de facto way to talk to machines, I think like what a lot of people are saying is like eventually when we get to computers so good that it almost doesn't matter what code they write underneath as long as the thing works. But to me, this was kind of like frustrating, you know, specify which areas need attention, explain what working means in the context application, define the behaviors. And so to me, like, I'm kind of like, hey, AI is great, but it's just a tool. And you need to know where the limits are, where it works and where it doesn't. So I wanted to like kind of share that frustration I had earlier today to be like, if you're learning to code and you kind of feeling like, oh, you need to give up because LLMs and AI is going to replace you. Like, we're not there yet. And I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to be like, yeah, but tomorrow we will be there. But try to build something with LLMs and you'll see that it's not as straightforward as it is. And that's kind of like the interesting like issue. It's documentation. Like, I mean, it is helpful in certain cases, but yeah, that's something I wanted to kind of point out. And I know like I've been kind of really lazy of trying actually to code anything today. Let's see, I'm in a different, this is a totally different project I was working on. Maybe I'll actually code something today, but probably not. This is my other project I was working on. This is just a bunch of... So anyway, I don't even remember what I was even doing. LLMs can't confidently convince you that the code is working when actually it's not. Yeah, problem with cursor. Ned, thank you, Paul, for the stream. I need to finish the Strapi V5 crash course. Yeah, definitely. And it's the same thing that I'm kind of working on to put it here. Like if you go to coding30.com, what I'm trying to do, oops, I went wrong button, is to make the course a little bit easier to use. And so I slowly started going through it now, but every course you watch, I'm trying to add the notes. I didn't make it that far, to be honest, so you're probably like way ahead of me, but I'm trying to add the notes and the code snippets for each lesson, so it's much easier to do. And if, before you go, like if you're looking for some kind of like example Next.js projects, I have a bunch of them. So a good representation of a cool project to try is I built this basic blog website. You have like the nav, you have a landing page, you have a blog section with search, with pagination, you have different like views. So if you wanted to check it out, I'll put this repo in the description. And it's fairly straightforward to get started. But like, yeah, looking at like example projects is like very helpful. And this one is like, if you wanted to like get started and run it locally on your computer, it's fairly easy. You just clone it, right? CD temp. Yeah, just clone. I'm gonna call it Strapi Next. Yeah, after it downloads, you just CD into the Strapi Next or whatever you called it. And then I created a helpful script. So you could just run yarn setup. It's going to go ahead and install all the dependencies for the front end and the back end. And while I'm doing that, let me just stop my previous project here because they're going to be on the same port. And then like once all the dependencies install, I have some dummy data. You could run yarn seed. It's going to go ahead and seed the project from Strapi. And then you'll be able to run yarn dev. And it's going to start both your front end and your back end. And you could see like the scripts. You could see the code in the repo, kind of what it looks like. And so you will have the the login. Because you're starting it for the first time, you're going to have to create like your first admin user. Strapi.io monkey. Oh, did I not know how to spell monkey? Because monkey is the most secure password. Yeah, and so this has like dynamic pages. It has posts. It has global data for like the top navigation. It has like a landing page, so you could see like different examples of using dynamic zones in Strapi. And I also in this one got the if you go, let's say, to posts, I got the preview to work. Just takes a minute to load. So like you could preview. I don't know why I had that little error. User issue. I'm gonna say it's a user. Yeah, but you could actually preview draft posts and published. If you actually try to figure out how to create this feature, or set up this feature, I did write a blog post about it on Strapi AI. I'll share it in the docs. I'll share it in the chat. Developer blog. Yeah, I build a lot with Strapi, so I'm trying to share what I learned. Load more articles. Yeah, like this blog post. And there's a YouTube video. Shows you how to set up the preview feature for your Next.js project in Strapi, which is kind of cool. Building an affiliate booking website. I'll definitely take a look. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So check it out. And then, yeah, you could pull it locally. That's literally all the steps that it takes. See, it's already running locally, including the front end. If I go to localhost 3000. So this is the front end. And I implemented sign in with email, but GitHub I didn't implement in this project. But if you have questions on how to use social auth in Strapi, I could help you out with that too. I'm doing it in my current application. But yeah, definitely check it out. So one thing that I noticed, and this is definitely like junior level kind of issues. Like I get excited, I want to code all the time, and so like I wasn't really productive with my Next.js application, and because I was kind of like thinking of, oh, I want to implement the profile page. What does the profile page need to have? And I'm like, oh God, like, and then I try to code without having a plan. And so what I would actually should have done at the beginning of the stream, which I didn't do, it's actually do a simple plan of like what you're looking to build. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. This is actually, I have ADHD, so I was trying to build a AI-powered ADHD app. But the point is I should have thought about what I wanted, and I should have done some crude diagrams of kind of what I want. So if I were building a profile page, I'm going to have side menu, dashboard, and then kind of better understand what I want. So this would be different links. So it'll be like profile, then it could be my courses, notes, whatever it is that the dashboard menu is going to have. And if I was working on the profile, I would be like, oh, Jesus Christ, I don't want to make all them blue. What are you doing? Like basically I would say like a little bit of planning goes a long way, and I would have been like, yeah, I would make my profile page, profile page. And actually I'm going to do this quickly now for next time. And profile page. And then the profile page would basically have some basic information. Make it white. Let's say it will have basic info. And it could be something as simple as image, and then here we'll have username, email, bio, and then maybe liked courses. Even doing like something as simple like this, like I would have like better idea of kind of like what kind of, you know, what do I have to build? What do you want to build? And now that I know that I have this, what would the workflow would look like? So when someone navigates to the profile page, you know, we will say if profile exists, you know, load profile. And then we'll say if profile does not exist, ask user to make one, right? So that's literally like two flows, right? Either profile exists or profile doesn't exist. And like for me to like make this work, I need to be able to create a function or something that checks if logged in user has a profile or not. That's one thing I have to be able to do, right? Let me zoom in a little bit. So number one, that would be like the functionality. User has a profile or not. Wait, what is that? What is logged in? Okay, and then, dude, this widget here from Grammarly, most annoying thing. Leave me alone. Dude, turn off. Anyway, didn't I say turn off? Dude, whoever created this Grammarly widget should go to jail because I don't want it in my way. Turn off Grammarly on this website. Yes. And then it turns on again. Okay, that's so obnoxious. Anyway, so create a function that checks if logged in user has a profile or not. Then also we want to create a, because this is a Next.js server action. No, we want to create a form to take user input. Then we want to create a server action to submit user input. And then we could actually like go into like more granular details here. Like for instance, we could say whenever we creating our user input, we could say use Zod to validate user on the server, and return appropriate validation, whatever. But the point is that I'm saying, like, instead of like trying to code the thing that I was trying to code today, is literally I should have at the beginning of the stream took time to do this, which I didn't, and so that was my mistake. And so now though, by having this, even in this most like rudimentary way, I could go ahead back to my application and I now know what I have to do. Like, and I could have some actions. Like for instance, I need this side menu. Okay, let me work on the side menu first. Or I need to have a profile page. Let me go ahead and work on the profile page. And so this is something that important that I always forget because I'm excited to code. But at the end of the day, like planning what you're doing is the most important thing that you have to do. But anyway, now that I know that I should have started with that first instead of waiting to the last minute, I'm gonna just hang out for like a few more minutes if anybody has the last burning questions before I go. And then, yeah, and Black Dreams, thanks. I'll see you later. And so I'll do this every Friday. I don't really mind, like, you know, if people watch or not. I think to me it's a good practice to like code in public, talk about things that I'm building, and it's fun because I just get to chill, listen to music and code. And also, if you all have questions, it's kind of fun to answer and give you my takes and my thoughts. With that being said, thanks so much, and I will see everybody in the next one.